What do you call a man who drags England back from the edge, scores twice when everything is falling apart, and even makes Thierry Henry apologize live on air? For Thierry Henry, there was only one answer: Sir Harry Kane. England were staring at disaster against DR Congo. A World Cup knockout tie in Atlanta, a nervous nation watching, a team short of answers, and after just 7 minutes, the Three Lions were behind. The clock kept ticking. The pressure kept building. And with just 15 minutes left, England's World Cup dream looked like it was slipping away. But then Harry Kane did what Harry Kane has done so many times before. He became the answer. Not just with one goal, with two. Not just by finishing chances, by dragging England forward when they needed leadership most. And within minutes of the final whistle, Thierry Henry, an Arsenal legend, a man with every reason not to overpraise a former Tottenham hero, could not hold back. He gave Kane a new name. And then he said sorry. England's night against DR Congo had begun in the worst possible way. Thomas Tuchel's side conceded early, falling 1-0 behind after only 7 minutes. It was the kind of start that turns a knockout tie into a mental test as much as a football match. Suddenly, England were not controlling the story. They were chasing it. The longer the game went on, the heavier the pressure became. The performance was described as hapless. England looked desperate for a spark. Desperate for someone to take responsibility. Desperate for the kind of moment that can change everything. And when the final 15 minutes arrived, that responsibility landed exactly where it so often lands. On Harry Kane. First came the equalizer. Kane found space inside the penalty area and headed England back into the contest. One moment, DR Congo were protecting a famous lead. The next, England had air in their lungs again. But Kane was not finished. The Bayern Munich striker then produced the moment that saved England's World Cup campaign, rifling the ball into the top corner from the edge of the box. From 1-0 down to 2-1 up. From panic to relief. From possible humiliation to survival. And it was not only the goals that impressed the pundits watching on Fox Sports. Thierry Henry pointed to Kane's work beyond the obvious headlines. The movement, the defensive effort, the willingness to run back, stop a counterattack, then help launch one the other way. That was the part Henry could not ignore. This was not just a striker waiting for service. This was a captain carrying a team. Henry, who has always been closely associated with Arsenal, admitted he was not usually the first person to go over the top for a player with Tottenham connections, but even he had to put that aside. He said he wanted to respect the rules of the country, but from now on he was going to call him Sir Harry Kane. Not because he had the official power to do so, he admitted he did not. But as a personal statement, as a reaction to what Kane had just done, Henry made it clear. This was the level of performance that demanded special recognition. Then came the line that turned praise into a moment. Henry said England had been looking for answers, and Kane, by himself, was the answer. That was the emotional core of the night. Because this was not a smooth England performance. This was not a comfortable win where everyone clicked from the start. This was a scare. A real scare. DR Congo had made the match difficult, exactly as Henry said people expected they might. England had to fight, suffer, and wait for their leader to rescue them. And Kane did. That is why Henry ended with the apology. After calling him Sir Harry Kane, he finished by saying sorry to him, not in regret, but almost in disbelief, as if the performance had forced him to say something bigger than punditry. And Henry was not alone. Zlatan Ibrahimovic also focused on the same point. Harry Kane's importance to England. He highlighted the 2 goals, but also that one lung-busting run. Henry had mentioned the kind of run that says everything about what a player means to a team. Then Zlatan made the comparison even sharper. Argentina have Messi, France have Mbappe, Norway have Haaland. But when it comes to England, Zlatan said, it is all about Harry Kane. That is the weight Kane carries. The goals, the leadership, the responsibility, the expectation, all of it sits on his shoulders. And against DR Congo, with England's World Cup campaign close to collapse, he carried it again. Zlatan even went further than Henry. He said Henry did not have the power to call him Sir Harry Kane, but he did. For Zlatan, Kane is England. A bold statement. A huge statement. But after this performance, it captured exactly how the night felt. When England were out of ideas, Kane found one. When the match was drifting away, Kane pulled it back. When the pressure was at its heaviest, Kane delivered twice. And suddenly, England were not out. They were alive. So England survive. A night that could have ended in disaster instead becomes another chapter in Harry Kane's career of rescuing the national team when the stakes are highest. Thomas Tuchel's side move on, but this was also a warning. England cannot afford to start slowly again. They cannot rely on one man to bail them out every time, and they cannot ignore how close they came to seeing their World Cup dream disappear. But they do have Harry Kane. And as Henry said, when you have Harry Kane, anything is possible. Next comes Mexico at the Azteca Stadium in the round of 16, a match described as the toughest test of the Thomas Tuchel era so far. England will need more control, more sharpness, more authority. But after Atlanta, one thing is clear. If England are in trouble, if the pressure is rising, if the dream is on the line, everyone knows where they will look. To the captain, to the record goal scorer, to the man Thierry Henry felt compelled to rename, Sir Harry Kane.